So what would normally be a straightforward exercise in Parliament has turned out to be a long, protracted process. For the first time in 30 years, the budget has faced many hurdles with parties in the Government of National Unity at odds. Today, Parliament's Joint Committees on Finance will debate how the budget will be allocated. This has to happen before the main budget vote tomorrow. ANC's Chief Whip in Parliament, Mdumiseni Ntuli, is now joining us to have that conversation. Mdumiseni, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. So, as we just indicated with Dr. Berg, who's the DA spokesperson on finance, it's less than 2 hours now towards that Joint Finance Committee meeting that will be taking place at 9 o'clock. And the question is whether the DA and the ANC have reached an agreement on the budget.
Good morning, Adrian, and good morning to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Look, the fundamental question is not whether the DA and the ANC has reached an agreement. The fundamental question is whether the ANC, having had an engagement with all political parties represented in Parliament, is confident on securing an agreement to pass the fiscal framework this morning in the Portfolio Committee, as well as tomorrow in the sitting. And the answer to that question is that the ANC is absolutely confident that, having listened to all political parties in Parliament, attempted to persuade them and be persuaded by them, we now have a sufficient consensus to go through the Portfolio Committee this morning and agree on the fiscal framework and agree on the process through which we're going to work together to deal with what remains the only major concern amongst us now, which is the question of the 0.5% VAT increase, because we have managed to successfully, through the past 2 weeks negotiations, to settle and secure consensus on all other issues that were of concern to all political parties represented in Parliament, except the Democratic Alliance. And I would say the Freedom Front Plus, whose final engagement with the ANC is going to take place later today.
Yeah, the DA federal leader actually tweeted and said that time is almost up. Last night, the ANC refused to finalize an agreement on growth and spending reforms, imperiling the GNU. The DA will oppose the budget until a written agreement is reached. So once again, a question that I'd actually posed even to the Freedom Front Plus is, you have a government of national unity. You have some members who do not agree with the budget. How then do you implement that government of national unity's policies if you do not agree with the financing of those programs and the Democratic Alliance remains part of the government of national unity?
Well, I don't know, Adrian, whether the DA will remain part of the GNU when Parliament has passed a budget that they do not support. I'm yet to see. I've never seen it anywhere in the world where a component of any kind of coalition or a government of national unity decide to stand very firm and oppose a budget and remain in government. I will see if that is going to happen in South Africa. Our own view is that, and we've been telling the DA, it's not appropriate to engage with the ANC and all other political parties via the media and social networks. Come to a bilateral, as we did last night, to engage with the DA, look at their issues one-on-one. And we told them we're not going to agree on the following issues and many others that they've raised. We can't say we must do away with the NYDA for you to support the budget. We can't agree that we must devolve major powers of national government to your province, to Western Cape, which you consider to be your province, for you to support the budget. We cannot agree that we must do away with progressive legislation, such as NHI, as well as expropriation, in order for you to say. And in any case, some of these issues that the DA is raising, including the powers they want to be assigned to one of the deputy ministers who happen to be a member of the DA, have nothing to do with the budget. They are essentially about them trying to score a political points on a matter that is completely irrelevant and at variant with what we are dealing with. Adrian, we have now discussed with all political parties. Let me tell you, and South Africans, at the moment, the majority of the political parties in the GNU and in that parliament have agreed overwhelmingly on the budget. The only aspect that we are refining this morning, and I can give you an assurance that it's going to be refined in a way that secures a consensus, is how to go about dealing with the 0.5% VAT increase. the whole range of other issues that parties had raised in the past 2 weeks, when we were not engaging in the public muscling that the DA has been inviting us to. We've been engaging political parties because our view as the ANC is that this is the parliament of all political parties who are represented. And at the end of the day, it's a parliament of the people of South Africa. And therefore, it's important that the budget must be seen and be understood to be a budget that has been accepted by parliament and not just one or two parties represented in parliament, including those who are in the GNU. So if the DA decide that we're not going to support what the parties have agreed on and are proposing this morning, and let alone what goes to parliament tomorrow, that will be their own decision. But that doesn't mean that budget is not going to be passed. And it also doesn't mean that that is going to affect the GNU. The GNU is made up of 9 political parties. You are there voluntarily. If you want to walk away from the GNU, that's perfectly your own decision, and the ANC is not going to interfere with that.
Yeah. What then happens to that if they do decide to walk away? Is the ANC willing to go ahead with a minority government and govern for the next 4 years under minority government?
Well, you see, right from the beginning, Adrian, we were working on various permutations, and the final one, which we ultimately decided on, was to form the GNU. But we understood right from the inception that this is not a perfect arrangement. It was subjected to ongoing contestation and contradiction. And one of those major parties that was going to lead to that contradiction is the Democratic Alliance. So the ANC will never make a decision that if the DA walks away, we collapse government. If the ANC is going to continue to lead the government, whatever that name or concept or definition, that characteristic that government is going to be called, is neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is that whoever decides to walk away from the GNU will do so voluntarily, but the ANC will remain working with the political parties who are going to remain in the GNU and those who are opposition to find common answers and solutions to a variety of problems that are facing South Africans. That is why we are also the major proponent, the supporter and the pioneer of the national dialogue, because we want South Africans across political affiliation and with various actors in our society to always come together and find a common solution to the problems that we're facing. So it's not about the DA, it's not about the ANC, it's about South Africa. If you decide to walk away because you disagree with the budget or because you are making unreasonable demand, that's your decision, but the budget is going to go through this morning and tomorrow in Parliament.
Yeah. The 42 votes that the ANC would require to have this budget, the budget passed, you said that you have an overwhelming support for the budget. Outside of the government of national unity, outside the members of the government of national unity, are you able to confirm which political parties have agreed to support this budget? Does the MK and the EFF feature there at all?
What I can confirm is that with all concerns that political parties have articulated in public following the presentation of the budget by the Minister of Finance, what is remaining now, which we're tightening up with all political parties, including those who are in the opposition, is how do we respond to the VAT increase? Because the VAT increase has not just been a problem for political parties who are in the opposition, including within our own ranks. People have raised concern about its impact, its unintended consequences. And what we're working on now is to find a way in which, through the portfolio committee later this morning, a platform can be availed to engage with the National Treasury on alternative avenues through which we can deal with what is supposed to be a revenue raised through the VAT, so that where the possibility exists, we can find a way to avoid having the VAT as part of our budget in this financial year. So I'm saying all political parties have agreed that we must find a solution to that problem. All other issues that the DA is raising about cutting the expenditure, removing this, doing away with the NYTA and all of those things, parties have said in Parliament we can't agree with those. Help us to find a common ground on how to deal with the question of the VAT. And I'm saying to you, Adrian, and the listeners, with great humility, I know that the ANC working with those parties is about to find a solution which will be articulated in the portfolio committee later this morning.
Yeah. I read an article in the News 24 this morning that, of course, a deal hasn't been reached as yet. But one of the points that they stress is that if there's any amendment proposed to the budget, then now I'm raising this question on the basis of that 0.5% VAT increase, it would mean that the Minister of Finance should be afforded at least 48 hours to respond. And if that is the case, then that means that the budget vote won't go ahead tomorrow.
Well, if we're to follow the logic of what the DA submitted to the portfolio committee, that is what they want us to do. They want the committee to adopt amendments in order to cause the Minister of Finance to have that 48 hours to look at those amendments and decide whether he moves along with them. We are not going to take that direction. If you recall, you may recall, Adrian, that in terms of the VAT, the minister has proposed that it must kickstart on the 1st of May. And of course, the actual legislation that Parliament must go through and pass in order to endorse the implementation of that VAT, we have until around October to make that determination in terms of what the law prescribes. Our view as the ANC is that when we're engaging with the different political parties, a view has emerged in which they are arguing that there are other ways within the current budget where we can find means and ways of avoiding a VAT 0.5% hike, but still within the same budget be able to live up to our own commitments on the expenditure and all other social programs that the budget has proposed. The point that we're advancing as the ANC, at the moment we are currently looking together with these political parties, looking at the formula through which we can say, sure, the VAT is going to start on the 1st of May, according to what the minister has proposed. But between now and then, as we adopt the fiscal framework, Treasury must allow an opportunity for submissions to be made through the portfolio committee and use those submissions to model them in order to determine whether these submissions, which would be within the same budget that the minister has presented, can be able to help us to offset the VAT hike. That is a major problem the political parties are raising, which is a concern to us as well as the ANC. Now, that doesn't require the minister to say, no, give me 48 hours, I want to reflect on this matter, because in any case, VAT is going to be kickstarting on the 1st of May unless Parliament decides otherwise. Remember, Aldrin, the matter is now before Parliament. The minister has made a proposal, and his proposal is subject to the decision of Parliament. The first layer of the decision-making in Parliament is the portfolio committee this morning. And the second layer would be sitting of Parliament tomorrow. And I'm quite certain that there is nothing that will demand for the minister to ask for 48 hours. Yeah. If parties are saying, we adopt the fiscal framework on condition, among others, that you allow us an opportunity before the kickstart of the VAT on the 1st of May to point out to you what we think needs to be reconsidered in order to ensure that we do not necessarily take the direction of increasing the VAT on the 1st of May 2025. So that is a conversation we are having. And I'm saying we are refining that conversation. By the time we get to a portfolio committee, a proposal that is in line with our laws in terms of how you handle these matters will be presented in the portfolio committee later this morning.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. That is the Chief Whip of the ANC in Parliament, Mdumiseni Ntuli, around the negotiations that have been taking place. As he says, that overwhelming support that they've received, including from opposition parties that are not included in the government of national unity, and the budget will be passed with or without the Democratic Alliance.